Welcome to the Sleevy G Show. I'm your host with the most. My name is Gomez, and today is a truly special event. I have today with me an Emmy Award-winning anchor slash reporter who worked for WPIX Channel 11 News, also New Jersey News 12, and now she's on NJ.com, and she's got the Bear buzz going on too. Kristina Behr. Kristina, how are you today?
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you so much for having me. This is really cool. This is my first ever podcast. So you are the first, and I'm honored that you decided to take the time for me. This is really cool.
Well, I appreciate you coming to take the time with me here. And, the folks know we're going to be talking some entertainment news and some things that are going on.
There's been a
And
lot. There's been a lot going
there's
on.
a lot, and especially in the last 24 hours, as we were
Yes.
both talking each other through Instagram last night through during Super Bowl time. So
Yes.
we will get to that. But I do, as a show, as a mini indie podcaster, I do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, of
That
course. Go for
I
it.
definitely. One thing is, as an Emmy Award winner, I want to know, how was it when you got nominated, and how was it when you won the award?
Oh, so weird. I mean, crazy, right? So I'll take it back a little bit. I come from a family of TV people. And so I grew up on like television sets. Like I joked with my parents being like, I'm not going to be a mathematician because this is all I know. Like TV is literally in my blood. It's all I know. And I don't know if you can see theirs. It's up there.
I
Those are
see
my
them.
Yeah, so those are my parents' Emmys. My mom was nominated 9 times for daytime Emmys. My dad won a couple and was nominated for his work, actually working as a photographer slash technical director for soap operas, but also he also was one of the first guys that created Wide World of Sports. We know that as ESPN.
Yes.
So he was one of the first cameramen to work on that channel, going around shooting, sports events, college football, insane, right? So
Yeah.
when we grew up in New Jersey, I lived in a house full of like camera parts, tapes everywhere. Like, mom worked crazy hours, dad worked crazy hours. So it's like, I grew up like not knowing there was like other jobs out there.
Right.
What do you mean your dad's a lawyer? Like, that's so interesting. Do you mean they don't work in television? What? So, so yeah. So, I mean, growing up, and I was 16 years old when my mom won her second Emmy, and seeing her on stage and like that whole, like Susan Lucci behind her, like
Wow.
all of this, because she was, for All My Children, mostly she spent most of her career being the executive producer, and going to that set and getting, as a little kid, getting my hair cut sitting next to Susan Lucci, like, what? This is weird. But to us, it was normal, right?
Right,
So
right.
seeing her up on stage when I was like 16, it really kind of hit home, because I was like, oh my God, like just, immense, just being proud, and just like knowing how hard she worked, because
Mhm.
these were two people, both my parents, no college education, no formal training, none of that, because they grew up, in big, my mom was a, Italian family on Long Island. They had no money. My grandfather worked 4 jobs. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mom, taking care of 4 kids. They immigrated from Italy, so it
Wow.
was like, and my dad was the same thing. His parents were from Germany, didn't have money, so to see them both kind of overcome all the obstacles, and my mom being a woman in the television business in the beginning, being told you'll never be a producer. Women
Mhm.
don't become producers. This was the 60s and the 70s. No way. And here
Right.
she is, an executive producer, winning an award and going on to run a network, like insane. So for me, the long answer to your question, being on that stage, it just was almost kind of like full circle, right? And it's like, it still doesn't feel real. But the thing my mom always taught me, she was like, of all the nominations and the wins and all the, accolades and the awards, she's like, it's really, you're only as good as your team.
Mhm.
And that's always kind of stuck with me, right? It's always been like, it's not just me, it's a whole group of people that made it happen.
Right.
So me and the photographer that I worked with on the series, as the sun is setting, sorry, that's
That's
super
okay.
funny. It's
It's
like all
okay.
of a sudden glow.
You know what? It's now because we're talking about your Emmy. It's shining on
I
you,
know. It's like, so
which is
um
awesome.
it's like timing. It just was, it was half of it was mine and half of it was Mike Roberts, who was my photographer that I worked with and producer. And he was like the pinnacle of making it happen. And so we just were an amazing team. And he wasn't there, unfortunately, so I couldn't share that moment in person with him, but
Right.
we still talk all the time. And say we're gonna do like glam shot pictures of us with the Emmys and like
That would be so cool to see, though.
yeah.
But that's a huge congratulations on that. I mean, I
Thanks.
saw the pictures. You going to hearing your name announcing that you won that Emmy. Like, what was it
Crazy.
going through your mind at that point?
I mean, the night was really long. There were a ton of categories, and it seemed that like in each category there were multiple winners, which
Hmm.
is kind of interesting. Like I didn't know that was a possibility, but I guess because of the amount of judges and
Hmm.
voters and whatever, there were ties. And so by the time I got to my category, I was like, well, maybe we have a shot, like kind of getting in there with somebody else,
Right.
like I was like, maybe it'll happen. And I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the fact that I was even nominated, I was shocked,
Hmm.
I'd never been nominated before. This was the very first time. I was like, oh my gosh, and then to actually win was just insane. It's just out of body experience. And
That's
it's,
awesome.
just really awesome. And then I found out later on that a piece that I did that won in a half-hour category that was part of it, I'll also technically won. So it's
So
like,
you got twice. Wow. Okay. Well, let me tell you, that's like legit awesome because
really cool. It's,
you know, but to see them in your background that your parents and you have yours, that's like a full circle right there. That's like
totally.
a nod to them, in which I got to know your parents are gotta be super proud of you. You know,
Yeah. I mean, they always warned me too. My mom always said, don't become an actress. You're going to be hungry the rest of your life. And so what do? I go into television on the news,
but
you
you know
know?
what? It works though. That's the thing. Like I said,
I
I'm a
know.
huge fan too. So as seeing
Oh,
you from Channel 11 Files News when you were doing the
yeah.
reports and all that, I
Yeah.
always watched you, and I felt like I seen you get bigger and bigger. I mean, you've done
Uh,
so much awesome things. Like going now to question number two, which is kind of funny. You've gone on to a lot of award shows.
mhm.
One, of course, I've seen you was on the MTV Video Music Awards.
Yeah.
You've done the Tonys, you've done the Met Gala. Like, how was that going through all these award shows as a reporter?
That's like that's my first love, right? Like entertainment news is my first love. I don't know why. I just fell in love with it. I've
Mhm.
always, I watched growing up Access Hollywood, E! News, Entertainment Tonight. Like I think that's because my parents would watch it to kind of like, just decompress at night,
Mhm.
right? Just put it on. And so watching that as a kid growing up and like seeing all the glitz and the glamour, I just fell in love with it. And it's escapism, right? Like
Mhm.
there's so many like gnarly things going on in the world right now, obviously. And it's
Yeah.
like to watch, the red carpet at the Oscars,
Mhm.
or, for me, it's like the ultimate escapism. It's great because, it's so lavish and ridiculous, right? Like,
Right.
the 1%, but it's just fun. And as a movie lover and just entertainment, it's fun to see too, and kind of like place your bets on who's going to win. But actually covering the awards, it's a lot of work. Like people don't realize that, it looks really cool and really fun, but it's a lot of work. And doing your research, and a lot of the times you only have these people, you can only grab their attention for like 10 seconds.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of like reel them in while you're in a live setting, people shouting at them, people, basically calling their name the entire time. And you have to kind of stand out and grab their attention and ask meaningful questions in a
Right.
very short span. So it's a lot of work. And it's usually a long night, but it gets your heart pumping, and it's so much fun for me
And
at least.
and it pays off at the end because like I said, I've seen you on the MTV Music Awards. I think it's so cool, and I know you've done some awesome celebrities. I mean, I've seen you, Liam
Yeah.
Neeson, Tom Cruise. One of my favorite actors, Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, he was my favorite. He is everything that you see in like Deadpool, and on camera is literally his personality. I've interviewed him 3 times now. And every time, I mean, Blake Lively is a very lucky girl, but
She is, and
it's like,
she just had her fourth child.
yes,
It's,
amazing.
it's amazing.
Another
God bless them.
girl,
Yes,
another girl,
poor
a
Ryan.
girl dad. But it's just, he is everything that you see on camera. Like
Mhm.
he's hilarious and just very, very chill, which is cool.
Especially because I started watching his show, Wexford, that
Yeah.
soccer Premier League he's been doing, and I thought that was so awesome because that's another side you don't see sometimes
No.
from actors or celebrities, I should really say, like him,
Yeah.
because he's running a business now.
Yeah,
With
totally.
it. So for those two guys, really to live in the United States, but then go all the way to Europe to do this soccer thing is huge. So
Amazing.
it's amazing. So, it's kind of cool. Like you have some awesome guys you've interviewed and ladies. I'm not going to forget the ladies. So, and that's the greatest thing. Like for what, like you say, you love entertainment. I grew up watching a lot of movies and a lot of TV growing up.
Mhm.
So for me, I was like, ooh, I like that. Ooh, I want to be like him.
Yeah.
But I never had the ever had the opportunity to become an actor or even as a broadcaster. You know what I
Right.
mean? So thank God podcasting became something. So it turned out it's better fit for me. So, but growing up, during the David Hasselhoff, Don Johnson era, you know what I mean? Like I'll date myself now. I was born in '79. So seeing the stuff from the '80s and '90s until now, it's been
Yep.
like a cultural shock because you don't,
Yeah.
it's all different things now. And it's kind of funny. Like I'm watching now movies on FX and I remember they used to take out parts and now it's being played like it's fine, which now I
Yeah.
don't get. Figure that one out.
Right. Well, it's funny because I just introduced my soon to be 9-year-old, crazy, my 9-year-old to Indiana Jones, right?
Yes.
Temple of Doom. We started with Temple of Doom. And my 4 soon to be 5-year-old got more into it. And we're watching it. And of course, the heart part, right? Like
Yes.
when you see
Yes.
Temple of Doom and they're doing the chants, and I turned to my husband and I was like, this is rated PG, right?
Yes.
Like this is, but it's not really PG. And we thought we were gonna have an issue, and we're like, do we shut it off? And then he was so invested, so he totally got it. He totally gets it that it's fake and it's not, real people. And now he thinks he's Short Round, and Short Round is his favorite hero of all
That's
time.
awesome.
If you think about it, it's true. Indiana Jones in that movie is not the hero. It's Short Round
It's
that
sure
really
around.
saves the day. Like he
Yeah.
saves everybody. So I was like, you know what? You're onto something. Yeah, Short Round is the hero.
I mean, and on top of it, just like yesterday, I just saw his newest Indiana Jones coming out. I saw the preview, which for me, growing up as a
Chills,
kid, I can't
chills,
wait.
chills.
I know.
Like I will say though, I hated the last one with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh,
Hated
Crystal,
the Crystal
yeah,
Skull.
no, the
Literally
Crystal Skull, yes.
hated it. Hated it.
Okay,
And I think it's because more of what they did with Shia than they did with Indy's character,
yeah,
and just not really being a fan of Shia LaBeouf's acting. Like I think he's a decent actor, but I just for some reason in that movie he irritated
I
me
think
to no
his,
end.
yeah, it was not one of my favorites,
And the
unfortunately.
storyline too
The
was kind of
storyline was not. It was like it was rushed. I felt like the storyline was rushed.
100%,
I mean,
100%.
I think Shia LaBeouf, he's like you said, he is a decent actor.
Yeah,
I think he was better in his Transformer days.
yeah, totally.
I think that's what character brought him out. But I kind of saw him do an interview, and I feel like he kind of fell.
He went through a rough patch.
Yeah, let's just say he fell into a rough patch, which is
Yeah,
very very hard to say. You know what I mean? I don't. I
yeah.
can. I'm lost of words. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think it was, storyline mixed with all of that. It was just kind of like, they kind of dropped the ball. So I'm very excited about this one, and I hope it actually lives up to expectations, because it is going to be his last one, and
It is.
he's hanging up the hat, and it's just awesome to see. So
It
it'll be
is. especially growing up, like I've watched Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yep.
Temple of Doom, and I always liked The Last Crusade. I always did like that
Yes.
one. So
Sean Connery. Yep.
Sean Connery made that movie with Harrison Ford. I would never thought I'd see
100%.
that. Those two
Yeah.
actors, legendary actors, be together.
So
So for me,
good.
the fourth one, the fourth installment's like,
It was a kind of a letdown. It was
yes.
definitely,
But
it
now,
was
now we got the fifth installment coming, and we're all really like pumped.
chills, goosebumps when
I
it
can't,
when we saw it. It looked really good.
I can't wait. So that's a good, exciting part. We're both looking forward to this already. Now, the final and last question, and
Oh,
we're gonna go into entertainment stuff now.
okay, okay.
So here it is, Christina. I know you love your holidays. I seen you posted your pictures. I know you love the fall. I know you love Halloween. You love your
Yep,
Christmas.
yep.
Today we're actually having some seasonal weather in the middle of
Insane.
winter.
Yeah.
I came home with a t-shirt and the windows down. I'm like breathing fresh air.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So now the question is, what is your most favorite holiday of the year?
Oh, definitely Halloween, without a doubt. Just anything in the fall because I mean, Christmas is a very, very close second
Mhm.
because, you know, I usually host Christmas, so the whole family comes here
Oh,
and,
nice.
it's magical and fun. Um, it's a very close second, but Halloween definitely without a doubt because fall in and of itself is just my favorite season. And
Yes.
then Halloween being on top of it, and then just coming up with creative costumes every year.
I've
Um,
noticed that. Yes.
challenging, the challenge. We've already started discussing. I know it's February, but
No, I'm going to be honest. You know who's like already discussing is my 6-year-old daughter.
there you
So
go.
she's already trying to figure out how all four of us are going to be.
Right?
This Halloween, we were two Batmen and two Batgirls.
I love
So,
it.
it's always exciting. And Halloween, I love the fall a lot. First of all, fall for me, I know it's football time, so I'm
Yeah,
gearing up for football season with the Giants.
of course.
And hockey's not that far along. I'm a huge New York
Mhm.
Rangers fan, and I just love going to the apple picking with the kids.
Mhm.
You know,
Pumpkin.
pumpkins, slingshot with the pumpkins, and all that. That's just a fun season because it,
Yeah.
it doesn't get too cold, but it's also not too hot.
Yeah, you get that crispiness. It's
Yeah.
that crispy, like you can sleep with the windows open. It's not like unbearably hot when you step outside and you get hit in the face with humidity, like give the AC a break. And yeah, no, that's why it's my, and then going, I actually don't mind the winter weather. I mean, we haven't really had it, but
Um,
cold weather doesn't bother me. It's really like the dumping of snow when you can't drive is the issue. But even
yeah.
now with kids, it's like it's fun to go sledding and to do, stuff in the snow. That's always fun. So I don't really mind it that much. I really
I
mind the summer and the hot and the bugs. Really, the bugs are gnarly.
not you'd be surprised that being a Hispanic male, I'm not a fan of heat. I love the cool weather of the fall and April, and I do love my winters. I
Mhm.
love the snow tremendously, and that's something I feel so bad for my daughter. She has her sled ready to go,
I know, I
and it's
know.
like, oh god. And where I live here in Morris County, so my
Yeah,
in
so
front of
you
my
get it.
yeah, so we've gotten it, and
Yeah.
I have a little hill right in front of my house. So
Oh,
for
it's
both of my
perfect.
kids, it's perfect. I mean, she wants now to go bigger. I'm not ready for that yet with her. She's our number one, and my son. He's full go. He's for a 2-year-old. He's
Oh,
he's 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 Mister. I'm gonna do what I could do. Whatever my
of
sister
course.
does, I'm doing it
It's
better.
it's the second child syndrome. That's how mine was too. He's like he started walking at like 7 months or 6 months because he saw the older one. So it was like
So
everything I'm gonna do.
right. So for me, Isabella was born before COVID hit.
Oh wow.
So
Yeah,
so she hung around a lot with adults.
yeah.
So she picked up a lot. Poor Anthony was born during COVID. So
Oh,
it was hard and difficult when we first had him. Like people want to
yeah.
see him. People are coming right outside the house. Like we're 6 feet away. Drop off the
Yeah.
gift here. This is the best we could do. And I'll tell you, as a 2-year-old, he's adapting well to his preschool, which thank you God.
That's
I
great.
because he's watched now the Muppets Glowworm. So he's been imitating Kermit a lot and like pretend he's eating the glowworm.
That's
And
really cute.
we kind of forewarned the preschool teachers, like if he's on top of the table and he's doing da da da, he's imitating glowworm. Sorry. So for him, it's glad to see that. And I'm glad, with your kids too. I see the Halloween costumes. You guys were Power Rangers,
Yes,
Super
we
Mario Brothers.
yeah, it's like, now it's like a challenge to one up myself every year. And it's like, what did I do? What am I doing? And my husband's always like, you could just buy this stuff, right? You could just go out and buy it. And I said, that's not fun.
You
That's
like
not
to
fun
make it.
for me. Yeah.
So
Yeah. 'Cause my
that's
mom
cool.
used to make all of it. My mom used to, like, she was a great, she would sew everything. And
Mhm.
so she would like create these even while she was working, she'd come home, exhausted, and she'd like make these costumes from scratch. And
That's
so,
so awesome.
oh, cool. I wish I had learned sewing from her, but I make do with duct tape, so it's fine.
That's the world's glue, duct tape.
Right.
That
Cardboard and duct tape.
you can't go wrong with that. So now, as we've done the million questions, or the three actually, but
Yeah.
I know everyone's interested is what's going on in entertainment news right now. I know last night was Super Bowl, big week. I know
Yeah.
Grammys were a week ago, and
Yep.
there's still a lot of flack going on with the Grammys. I know we could talk about, but let's start off with last night's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Your thing last night was great. Waiting for the Rihanna concert. And I know you posted up saying meh or slated. I thought she slated for what she did.
Right. I mean, so I admittedly spent the majority of the performance Googling if she was pregnant, like the rest of America, because I think we're so trained to be like, wait, is she? Is she not? Because it's the proper year. Like, she just gave birth like 7, 8 months ago. Like,
Yep.
I know I did not look half as good as she does right now while she's pregnant,
Yeah.
postpartum. And so at first I was like, no, she just had a baby. And then I was like, wait a minute, she's rubbing the belly,
Mm-hmm.
doing close-up shots. What's happening here? And then they confirmed it officially after, because of a dummies like me who were like, oh, she's
Not
okay. She
dummies.
definitely is.
That's you. That's your eye for good news. Because I even texted you saying, "Did I just see that right? Was she pregnant?" And you're like,
Right.
"I can't tell you. I'll let you know later." And then,
Yeah, it's like you gotta wait for the confirmation,
yeah.
right? But I mean, first of all, I love the Super Mario floating,
Yes.
that was really well done and really cool. It reminded me a lot of like Luigi and Super Mario, like the
Mario's.
whole
Yes.
levitating. And I think, because now obviously knowing that she's pregnant, and being able to, I couldn't even walk up the stairs when I was pregnant, let alone do a Super Bowl show.
Mhm.
So I mean, just like, that was amazing. I wish she had more time. I mean, you don't realize how many hit songs she has in her repertoire that
She
she
has
didn't even hit, you
and
know?
she's actually, and I want to say a happy early birthday to Rihanna. She's turning 35 next week,
Yeah.
and
So,
I didn't even realize how young she was when she started her career.
right.
She
Yeah.
has multiple albums and hits. It's just
And
ridiculous.
she's a billionaire, so she doesn't have to do any of it. You know what I mean? So it was like,
You think
she
she
just went
won?
up there and did her thing. And like, I thought it was great. Was it my favorite of all time? Probably not,
Mhm.
because I mean, that spot is still reserved for my Lady Gaga, and Prince,
Mhm.
and J Lo and Shakira
Yeah,
killed it, and even Bruno Mars. Like, I feel like Bruno Mars never got like the proper accolades, because he put on a really good show.
he did put on a good show. I'm not a huge fan of Bruno Mars, because
Yeah, I mean,
I got tired of it, and I don't mean him personally. It's the radio play, and
no, yeah,
I'm not mentioning radio stations here, but the
right.
radio play was so much.
So oversaturated.
It was
Yeah,
way too much for me. So when he played the Super Bowl, yes, his show was phenomenal. I was
it was
admitted
really
to
well
it.
done. Yeah,
But I was just like, some of the songs I just did not want to hear again
yeah, of
because
course.
it's overplayed. But when Prince did his
Prince.
and it started to rain and he's singing Purple Rain,
I mean, better. Could you have better timing? I mean, iconic, right? Just,
it's it's so
yeah,
iconic, it's ridiculous.
yeah. And Lady Gaga, I mean, coming down from the rafters and like, just, she puts on a ridiculous show anyway. So
Mhm.
I was not disappointed. You know what I mean? There were
Yeah.
definitely high expectations going into it, and even Beyonce too. I mean, you go into it with a certain expectation and they deliver,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah. It's like I said, it's like you said, it was just an amazing show. I was really going first 2 seconds. I'm looking, I'm like, is she pregnant? And I'm
That's the sad part, is because, and maybe that was the point, right? Like
yeah,
maybe the point was to do that
yeah.
because you knew something was definitely, because she wasn't giving her 100%.
She wasn't dancing as
Right. And
much. She
it's like,
wasn't.
what's happening here? And then you're like, okay,
Well,
there's
it was kind of funny because I'm looking at when I was looking at her with, I'm glad they had the safety tie downs when she was up 30 feet in the
that
air.
thing was shaking.
I was like, oh my God, do not, please
It was
God, do not. It
shaking.
was
Yeah.
shaking. I was shaking for her in my house. And me and my wife, we were discussing this and we were both like,
You're
and she
like,
goes, is she I go, she's got to be pregnant. She goes, no, she just had a kid, like you said,
right.
70 months ago. I'm like, listen,
Irish
she's a,
twins.
she, yeah, she's an attractive woman, but let me tell you, in 7, 8 months, she's got a personal trainer. She's going back to her
My
natural
husband
weight.
said the same exact thing. He said the same. He's like, she's got a trainer, she's got a nutritionist, she's got a chef, she's got all these people. And
And
it's
we're,
true. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's curiously in the right spot.
it is. And then,
Kept
then
rubbing
she
it.
did the rub. She did the rub.
Yeah.
And that's
And the
was like,
zipper was like right down to like to show the belly and like
yeah.
a look at my belly kind of thing.
And it
So
was her first like live performance in 7 years. So
yeah.
not even the Super Bowl reps knew she was pregnant because she said
Yeah.
she was wearing baggy clothes.
Yeah, I mean the whole time if you look at the tour, and it's funny, when she did the the interviews before
Mhm.
the Super Bowl like they normally do, right? She mentioned sneaky. They asked her if she'd have any guest stars or guests.
Yeah.
She said, I might have one surprise guest, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah,
It's like,
it was huge because that's a huge announcement.
yeah.
If
So she was giving hints.
so, I mean, millions of people around the world, and for that, I know Michael Strahan didn't know because those two are very friendly.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, and it's like, wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But to me, she killed that show last night. She
Yeah.
played all her great hits. Me and my wife were actually singing, and I was like surprised what she opened up with too. You better get my money.
Yeah.
We were talking about that whole Saturday and yesterday. My wife were discussing what she's going to open up with. Oh, we're thinking
Yeah.
Diamonds in the Air.
Yeah.
Don't Play the Remix. It's just a lot of her hits.
Yeah.
And I just said Run This Town, but I'm like, no, she's going to end with that song.
Yeah.
But she didn't. She ended with Diamonds.
Yeah.
So I thought the show was phenomenal. I know a lot of people went on Facebook now, as I'm not a reporter like you are, but I went on Facebook and Twitter, and a lot of people was like, oh, this show is boring. I thought the show was great. I'll bring back rock bands. Listen, not for nothing. I understand why they did it. It's 50 years of hip hop this year in
Yeah.
2023. So
Huge.
it's huge. That's a huge thing to put a hip hop artist, especially somebody who hasn't been on stage for 7 years.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, she has a ridiculous repertoire of hits. Like, why it made perfect sense. She had turned it down before, and she said, like, this time around, it just made sense in terms of timing. And obviously, now we know the timing,
Yeah.
especially because of her pregnancy and not having the album out just yet. That's obviously been pushed back probably now too. But I mean, it made perfect sense to her at the time, and like, why not? Yeah, that doesn't, I don't get that whole naysayer thing about, oh, Rihanna, no, why
Mm.
shouldn't she be there? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
definitely deserved it. It just, and being the first pregnant woman, or that we know of, right? Because
As we
maybe
know,
somebody
yeah.
don't know, being the first pregnant woman to do that, like that, it's like, okay, another proof that, moms are just superheroes. So it's just
Listen,
really cool.
my mom is. I see my wife, and I see you, and I see other moms out there. You guys are
Get it
superheroes because
done.
when the husbands go down, you guys do all the work around too. You know what I mean?
Getting it done. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was really cool. I thought it was really well done. And it's just a matter of preference, right? Like sometimes it's just like, I love Lady Gaga. I would do anything, like if you talk about like, ultimate interview, like that would be my dream interview, is to sit down with her for even just like 2 minutes, just to chat with her. So I mean, yeah, I think she did a bang up job. Like and then just knowing everything afterwards, it's
Mhm.
like, awesome, badass. Like,
Maybe on Wednesday, I'm gonna have to hashtag Lady Gaga, and maybe she'll see this.
yes,
And
put it out there, make it happen.
if it does, remember where you heard it first.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, for me, it would definitely be one of my favorites. Is definitely Ryan Reynolds. Um, but just because his character, who he is, he's
Yeah,
just. I have a lot of his movies. I love all his movies, and he's just one of those guys. I feel like I could sit down, like we're talking right now. Like we could talk
100%.
about hours about stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one of them. And then me, as a TV personality, you're gonna laugh when I say this. I grew up watching Knight Rider and loving it. I would definitely love to talk to David Hasselhoff, but
Yeah,
I know he's huge in Germany, so it's hard for him to come here to America a lot. But
that would
I
be
always
cool.
I grew up with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, same here, like yeah, Knight Rider and what was it? Little House on the Prairie,
Mhm.
Brady Bunch,
Brady
all
Bunch,
it's all like Nick at Night, like
yeah,
all the Nick at Night shows.
Dukes of
And then of
Hazzard,
course, yeah, and then you had Fresh Prince and Saved by the Bell, 90210, all that stuff.
all the good stuff. Yes, and I believe you were a 90210 girl. I can see you.
100%. Jenny Garth was my girl. She was my girl.
I was definitely a Saved by the Bell guy. I always thought I was Zach Morris because that's where I learned a
Zach
lot.
Morris.
I learned a lot of stuff from him being sneaky and stuff in school, and I did the same stuff. So I didn't get the Tiffany Amber Thiessen girlfriend. I had a different one, but would have been great to have that status.
Oh, yeah. Talk about somebody not aging. I want whatever elixir she's drinking, whatever potion, because she looks exactly her and Zach Morris. Even also Mario Lopez. They all look like exactly the same. Like, how is that fair?
Yeah, I was watching their reboot of Saved by the Bell with
Yeah,
their kids, and I'm like, how is it that Mark Paul Gosselaar looks amazing still, and
exactly the same. Yeah.
Mario Lopez? I know Tiffany, and Tiffany Amber Thiessen. It's like, wow, where's the Fountain of Youth? Can you send it to Jersey? Because
Right.
we need it.
Right. Exactly. It's like, how is this possible? It's not fair.
It really isn't. It really isn't. So what else do we have on the that we could talk about? Like, there's so much good, juicy gossip around going on.
There's a lot. I mean, I write for the US Sun part-time as well.
Okay.
So my world is like sort of revolving around the Kardashians, which I admittedly have never watched an episode. I've never watched an episode of that show or The Housewives and supposedly there's been clips of me on Housewives,
You
like
probably were
words, and I'm like, I've never seen it before.
secretly,
Yeah.
secretly.
I'm the reality show kind of circuit is kind of like I've never seen The Bachelor, never watched it.
No, 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 no. I haven't
Not
watched
my
it.
thing. I'm
Not my thing.
more of like a Mandalorian, Last of Us, really good dramas. The Walking Dead for a while, we kind of fell off on that.
So did we.
Just completely binged The White Lotus. Highly
Ooh,
recommend.
okay.
So good. I mean, Jennifer Coolidge is just phenomenal. She's just iconic as well. So like those kind of shows are like more of I love scripted dramas, like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, and suspense. I mean, The Last of Us, man, we could talk an hour on that show too. And I know you've got another podcast that you're talking about it. It just caught me by surprise because when you hear like, oh, it's based on a game, and
Mhm.
I'm not part of the gaming world. I've never played Xbox or all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I had the Nintendo when I was a kid, but like, my son plays a Switch. Like, so when you hear like, oh, it's based on a video game, you're just kind of like, oh, all right.
And you want to laugh? I have the video game.
There you go.
I'm a video gamer for heart. Like you said, I grew up playing Nintendo, and
Yeah.
I've not stopped at my age. And you gotta understand, when PlayStation 5 came out, I was on a mission and I got it. So
Wow.
for me, it's again, anybody who suffers from anxiety like I do, this is another escape for me besides
Right.
comic books. So I get it, you know what I mean? So for some
Yeah.
people, video games, it's like I could sit there for hours. Like if I go Saturday night, my wife goes, "Hey, I'm gonna watch TV." You go watch TV, I'm going downstairs and I'm like,
Yeah. And that's how you disconnect for sure. Like,
"Mhm."
and but it's like when you hear sometimes like, oh, it's based on the game, and you're like, is it going to really be as good as the game? Is it going to, do you have to be like in the know to like understand what's happening? Right. So when this came out, The Last of Us,
Mhm.
we were both kind of hesitant because we're just like, it's based on a game. Right.
Mhm.
But because of who stars in it, and of course,
Mhm.
Mandalorian, we're like, all
Yeah.
right, let's give it a shot. And also Narcos,
Right.
amazing show. And now we're just hooked. And it's just every episode has been even more and more and more just like heartbreaking and
Yes,
just
I
so
know.
well done.
I'll just leave episode 5. You wrote it right on my Instagram page. Crushing. It was.
Crushing.
And that's all I'm saying. So we're not
Yeah.
gonna spoil anything. It's kind
No.
of funny. I just bought the video game about a week ago. I
Mhm.
didn't I was one of those guys who was on the fence on the video game.
Right.
Then I saw the show and I'm like, okay, I have to get the game. And to be honest with you, the video game, I'm pretty much as I'm playing the game, it's right to the T, almost exactly like the show. So that's paying homage in a great way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's been TikTok videos where people are literally splicing the dialogue from the game to the
Mhm.
dialogue in the show, and the exact scene, the exact scenery, the way
Yes.
it's shot. So yeah, for sure. Like that, I feel like is doing it justice 100%. Will a movie like Super Mario Brothers be as good as the game? My son already pointed out, he's like, "Where's Yoshi?" Yoshi's
Right.
not even in the movie poster,
But the
right?
funny thing
Oh,
is, Yoshi didn't come out later until
right.
Super
And
Nintendo.
he's
So,
probably going to get his own movie because
yeah.
knowing these franchises and like all of
Mhm.
so he's probably going to be coming up in the next movie. But still, to a diehard Mario fan, where's Yoshi? So
No, I get it.
it'll be interesting to see how that sort of adds up and if people kind of respond in the way. I mean, it looks really fun anyway,
It
but
does, especially with Chris Pratt in the movie. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's something I'm
yeah.
looking for. I actually like Chris Pratt, and I was so happy to see Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 coming out.
Yeah, that's
So
good too.
that's gonna be it's two of my favorite movies. It was funny. It was on the other day, and I was singing with them with the theme song in the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie.
Soundtracks are killer.
Yeah.
Did you watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas
No,
special?
I did not. I unfortunately missed it. I unfortunately was a little tied up with some family things.
You should go back and watch it. I'm sure it's probably on Disney
It
Plus or
probably is.
yeah, or YouTube or whatever. I just two words, Kevin Bacon. That's
Oh,
that's all.
okay. Then I gotta watch it. Then I will.
Yeah,
Because
it was
I'll be hitting up saying, "Oh my God, this is great." So, I will.
highly recommend. It's only like a half hour, not
Okay.
even. It's not a full movie. But it again, that was another one where it was just kind of like we put it on around the holidays and we're just like, what is this? I don't even know what this is. And it turned out to be such an entertaining like 20, 30 minutes of just chaos.
Well, you
So it was
mentioned
fun.
one of my favorite shows on Disney Plus that's coming out in March is Mandalorian
Oh
season
yeah.
3.
I mean,
I can't wait.
my
Um,
the 4-year-old is very into Mando, Baby Yoda slash Grogu
yeah,
slash, Boba Fett, all
yes.
that stuff. Yeah.
When Mandalorian came out, I actually tore my knee up, and I tore my MCL during COVID. And let me
Oh
tell you,
no.
getting doctor's appointments, I missed work for 2.5 months.
Oh man.
So being bored at home has kind of its privileges a little bit. As surgery came around, my in-laws bought me the Mandalorian Baby Yoda Lego. I went to town on that. Within a day, I was done. And my daughter, she's starting to realize, oh, it's Baby Yoda, and she loves Baby Yoda. As we know as Guru, but she still says Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
She's starting to watch the Star Wars movies with me, and I'm again, like you said, when you're watching Indiana Jones, you're like, yeah, do I let her see this?
Oh yeah, there's like lightsaber things going
Yeah,
on.
and I
Yeah.
tell her, if you're scared, let me know. I'll shut it off.
Yeah.
And
100%.
she's braved through a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're on Disney kind of kick right now before we get into something serious, but it's kind of funny. Like my kids love Encanto and Frozen.
Oh yeah.
So
Encanto. Yep.
we had an opportunity for her birthday. We got her tickets to the Prudential Center or the Rock, aka the Rock.
The Rock.
They
Yeah.
hate the Disney on Ice,
Oh,
Frozen, and Encanto. Let
awesome.
me put it this way: I love the movie Encanto, I thought it was great. It was unbelievable. And I love Frozen. But I'm gonna be honest with you, putting those two were it was like Frozen and then Encanto was the second one. I actually had more tears on my eyes for Encanto because to seeing the joy of both of my kids singing all the songs,
Yeah.
or my son actually jumping up and down and almost leaping over the VIP section, like seeing that was just unreal for me. So it's a joy to see that with the kids, like
Yeah.
anything that you take with the kids, you're like, oh my god, that's the cutest thing. It brings like a little tear. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
this big guy got a little teary eye, and but seeing the joy of my kid's face, seeing that, and let me tell you, if we watch that movie, I could probably recite the whole movie and sing every song for you.
Yeah, same. It's been on especially during when it came out, it was just like all the time. It's like, what do you want to watch? Encanto,
Although,
Encanto.
yep,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
You want to talk
yeah,
about Bruno? It's fine.
yep. We don't talk about Bruno in this house anymore. So
Seriously.
those are the things that you, like you say, you hold on. But
Yeah.
now I know we just got off a little off topic because we went to Disney here, but we definitely got a lot of more entertainment news. And we just mentioned, like you said, you were dealing a lot with the U.S. Sun, the news, U.S. news, and you said you're working for the Kardashians, and you got some stuff with the Real Housewives. Now, yes, I've watched the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I watched
Yeah.
season one, and I watched a couple of seasons with my. At that point, it was my fiance. Now is my wife. I started watching it. It's kind of funny that you were mentioning it. Teresa's Judice's Mercedes was stolen out of her $3.35 million house.
Yeah.
Now, I'll even say where I live. I do live in Montville Township. I don't
Wow.
live that far from her. Yes, there's been a ring of auto thefts in this area. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, she lives in a $3.35 million house. The gate should have been closed and the door should have never been open.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it, right? And she's not the only housewife to have. There was another housewife that had her auto
No,
stolen. It
her
was a
husband's Ferrari.
Ferrari,
It was, I think
yes.
it was, her name was Jennifer. I can't remember. I don't remember all the new cast members'
Yeah, I
name.
don't remember them
And
either.
I was watching that on YouTube. They they left the door open in one of their cars, popped the garage, and oh, why not a
And then
Ferrari
it's
that's
like,
covered?
right. And it's that was always mind. Well, I guess it's sort of they're not thinking like, oh, nobody's gonna hit my house, right? But it's like, wouldn't you think like just lock your door, like take your key fob, like it doesn't, it makes no sense. Like, why? Just take it with you. It doesn't
Take it
make,
with you.
it's not that hard. Just take it with you.
Exactly. Now,
Um,
go ahead. No, sorry.
no, I was gonna say Teresa also made an announcement. She's leaving New Jersey in 4 years. When her daughter is done with college, she wants to move out to California. So that'll be interesting if that
That
actually
will,
happens. I
yeah, she'll
mean,
be on the Beverly Hills show then.
right, exactly. That's what I said. It'll be interesting to see if she actually holds up, that actual promise. But she said she's done. Her quote was, "I'm done with the winters here." But it's like this, we haven't had it's 60 degrees outside today.
It hasn't been a winter in how many years? And what
Right.
I
So,
mean, the only cool blast we had was what, Christmas weekend.
I guess
That
maybe she likes the whole like palm tree vibe,
uh,
lows in the 50s kind of deal. I don't know. It gets pretty cold in California sometimes.
it
So
does, especially in San Diego.
right.
So it's just one of those things that's it's weird. And I know her older daughter Gia is trying to be a lawyer now, or
Yeah.
work into what helping immigrants with
Right.
getting their visas. Good for her. I'm glad she's
Yeah.
she's soaking up the limelight, but she's not. She's actually doing something very
With her
big.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kudos to her on that
Yeah.
note. But it's kind of funny. I mentioned the Grammys. It was a week ago,
Yeah.
and they're still ripping the Grammys apart a little bit. And one of the ones I keep hearing about is Sam Smith and Kim Petras. They triggered a huge outrage. I keep hearing through TMZ. I heard the FCC got 18 complaints in one day, and
Right.
I
Well,
get I get it kind of, but I don't.
yeah. Well, they're controversial, right? Any sort of controversy, people deem, when you bring in religion in in a performance, there's people are gonna take issue,
Yeah,
right? And sadly, there are anti-LGBTQ plus people that still are in the communities as well. They're not supportive. And so seeing them perform in that way where it's provocative,
Mhm.
people took issue and they're
Yeah.
gonna complain.
I-
Is it sad for the world we live in today? Absolutely. The fact that people are speaking out against them.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, turn it off. Like, that's my thing. Like, if you're not going to support, then walk away. Right.
I,
I didn't see anything wrong with it.
neither.
Madonna, I mean, some of Madonna's former performances, people would go after her. And I
Yeah.
thought it was so fitting that she was the one that introduced their performance as well. It kind of became
Yes.
full circle, like a prayer, right? Like,
Oh my God.
it came full circle. So it was kind of cool to see. Um, I know personally, I didn't see what the hubbub was about. But again, you have people in middle America
Mhm.
that are uber religious,
Yeah.
don't believe in that kind of stuff. And so when they see any sort of religious sort of interpretation, then people take,
Take
issue with it.
notice. Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, I'm Catholic. You can see the chain on my cross on my
I'm a
neck.
bad Catholic too.
So am I. I hate to admit it, but I am bad.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, to see an artist express what he thinks is what he's doing. I mean, again, to be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize that was Sam Smith to begin with.
Really?
It took me a while because I remember when I saw Sam Smith, I remember seeing elegant, always dressed up, and
Mhm.
a little bit thinner, a little more slim.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this album, the vibe has changed, right?
yeah.
And he's spoken out about being able to be more free in himself rather than what the label wanted him to look
Mhm.
like, right? So like when he first exploded onto the scene, he was more labeled as this R&B kind of crooner slash soul singer, right? And
Yeah.
now he's kind of dipping into the pop kind of genre and exploring like who he really is and like
Mhm.
being more true to himself. And that's what he said in interviews as well.
And then and kudos to him because like I said, I didn't recognize him at first. I'm like, that's not Sam Smith. And then I look, I go, oh wow, it is Sam Smith. Like, but good for him. I'm glad he's doing something that fits him now
Right.
and not
Yeah.
him fitting the label. So
Right.
that's kudos. I mean, there was other news too in that actor slash podcaster Bill Bellamy wasn't thrilled. He voiced something on his podcast about the 50-year hip hop tribute, which
Yeah.
first of all, I thought it was phenomenal.
So good. It was so
But
good.
to hear some of the people that they were missing a lot of ladies of hip hop. Okay, understandable, but when you only have like 14 minutes to fit every
Right.
person in, like
Right.
MC like the Brat, Foxy Brown, and Little Kim. Little Kim should have been in that to begin with,
Yeah. She should have.
but I don't know what happened that they excluded her, but Fat Joe too agreed, saying that they missed a lot during that tribute, and I said, yeah, I agree with both of them. But I
Yeah.
thought the tribute was done so well. 50 years of
Yeah.
hip hop,
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing. And I mean, it's now a week later and we're still talking about the Grammys.
Hmm.
It's like almost like the slap heard around the world during the Oscars.
Right.
Still being
So a
talked
year
about a year
later.
later. It's
Yeah.
still a year later. And and it's kind of funny. Like I see Will Smith, like I follow him. I always thought he was a great actor, and I'm so super psyched for Bad Boys 4.
Yeah. They announced it. It's going to be interesting to see if people forgive him, right? Like,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. By the time that movie rolls out, it'll probably be what, like next year,
Yeah.
probably a couple of years from now, because they haven't even started filming, right? So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see how the audiences react to once that movie does come out. Will nostalgia win over his, wrongdoings, right? I mean, which at this point it's like, okay, who cares? He slapped a guy.
It's done with. You know what's funny? I think it was either I don't remember if it was Serena or Venus said,
You know,
"Listen, the guy paid his dues. He said he was sorry a million times.
yeah.
How much more can you really put his name down?"
Right. And she spoke out on Gail, yeah, on CBS CBS This Morning.
Okay.
Thing. Because it's a year later, we're coming up on the Oscars, and the whole incident revolving around the fact that he won Best Oscar moments after the slap for the movie that portrayed her and her sister. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, she said, like, we all make mistakes. It's true. And he's owned up to it. He's apologized multiple times.
Mhm.
clearly there's a lot to unpack there that none of us really understand and know. And so, but it will be interesting to see, if the audiences are just kind of like over it, and
Mhm.
just like, I don't want to go see it. Or if nostalgia is going to ultimately be like, oh, I loved that movie. That was the best movie. And I want to go see them back in action again. I have a feeling it's gonna be more of that, but we'll see.
We'll see. I loved all three movies. I was so psyched when they did Bad Boys for Life, and
Yeah.
I was never going to believe when I heard the rumor saying, "Oh, he was shot." I'm like, "What? There's no way, heck, they're killing Will Smith's character." And
Yeah.
then you're watching, you're like, "Oh my God, it happened!" Like it shocked the hell out of me. Is the best way.
Right. It's kind of like Iron Man, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the
Yeah.
DC world's got DC, Marvel, and there's a lot of rumblings going on. That could be for another whole other
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
between you and me, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of rumblings going on in
Yeah.
the DC,
That
the
and
Marvel,
Stranger Things too.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
I just got into that show 6 months ago, so I'm a little behind the times.
okay.
I again, I wasn't into heavy streamlining shows a lot,
Yeah.
and everyone's talked about Stranger Things. I'm like, all right, I did finish season 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm behind on the times here, so please forgive me,
Well,
people.
I won't ruin anything, but this past season I think was the best season out of all
Everyone
of them.
has said that to me, so no one has ruined it. Thank God. Knock on
That's
wood.
good because literally like Twitter usually ruins everything for me. So, or TikTok now because like people just don't have any, chill to like for other people who don't have the time to necessarily watch in real time.
No, definitely not. So I've learned that because I've missed a lot of shows, and they're on Hulu, which is good. I
Yeah.
catch up on my week shows because I have the kids until 8:30,
Right.
and it's like, okay, I'm too tired to even watch TV.
Yeah.
So it's one of those difficult things. But talking about Netflix, did you catch actually the Pamela Anderson story?
I haven't yet. I saw all the interviews that she did. I'm a huge geek for CBS Sunday Morning. Like that's my show. I love that kind of storytelling and that
Mhm.
kind of long form feature kind of journalism. And so I watched her interview
Mhm.
on CBS Sunday Morning before the release of the show and the movie, the documentary. And I think it's fascinating that her son was the one that really pushed her to do it and to put
Yes,
out her autobiography and to kind of like tell her side of the story. I do want to watch it. I do. It's on my long list of things, right?
I got you.
Um, but what I took away from her interview is just, it's honestly kind of sad in a way, like the way she was treated and kind of
Yeah.
ostracized because of what happened and her and Tommy and being out in the limelight and just kind of, it was, you just got this feeling of just feeling sad for her.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like I grew up watching Pamela Anderson,
Mhm.
from uh, Home Improvement with Tim Allen.
Mhm.
Seeing her there, and then she went to Baywatch, and
Right,
I was just like glued to the TV. As a young man at that time, just like everybody else was.
right,
But then, she did a couple movies here and there, not the best quality movies she made some not the greatest choices in that department. But
right.
then she married Tommy Lee, and you're like, why? 4 days.
Yeah.
And
And obviously there's, a lot of familial issues
mhm,
that probably played into that and, her childhood and all that trauma and like
yeah,
so you could see the cycle, right? You could see all of that sort of bubbling back up and then the whirlwind that followed after they got married and the paparazzi and the
mhm,
interest and the tapes and all of that stuff. And it's so interesting the different times, right? Where you have somebody like Kim Kardashian
mhm,
who has built her $1 billion empire off of the same kind of tapes
right.
that Pam, and then she was ostracized as being, too sexual and too,
She did
it's
what
the
she had to
same thing.
do. She,
Yeah,
but what's funny is that now it's okay, but in the '90s it wasn't.
it wasn't right.
So, but I actually got to watch it, and she actually admits, like, she felt like Tommy was her love to
Yeah,
this day.
And she said that in the interview as well. She said, I have nothing but love for him. He's the father of my children.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see him happy, like, because he's now with somebody else. And it's like, yeah, you could definitely tell like there was a legit relationship there. It wasn't just for show,
No,
but
definitely not.
everything else got kind of like swept up into it. And that's sort of the sad part, that it kind of ate away at,
And you
the
got to see some home videos that she had, not the home video everyone talks about, but she
with her
actually,
kids.
yeah, showing with the kids and how Tommy was like, when they bought their first house together, the house that unfortunately happened. And,
Yeah.
you see him writing, he dressed up as a knight and claiming how much he loved her. And
Yeah.
and he was on a horse too, which is kind of weird seeing Tommy Lee on a horse. It's like, that's a little dangerous, but he did it well, and they both
Yeah.
walked. They both rode off. But
Yeah.
seeing them, I always loved Tommy Lee. He's one of the greatest drummers I'd seen out there. One of the best, if not the best drummer. So, again, like you said, I hope happiness are good for both of them, because
Yeah.
son Dylan seems to be like on the ball. Like he knows what he's doing. He pushed his mom for this.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting too. That was a really cool aspect of it, is the fact that he sort of understands like change the narrative, right? Like to put the real, her side of the story out
Mhm.
there, right? Because everybody has their own sort of opinion about what
Yeah.
happened and who she is. And it's kind of cool. It's nice to see. So it's on the list for sure.
Without that, I would recommend. I was just saying, I was I had an hour to kill just to do something because family was out. So I was like, oh, let me just watch it. I was very
Yeah.
surprised, and actually to see her with no makeup.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was like, wow, there she is. Like
It's
that's
raw,
it's raw.
real.
It's just the beauty of her, who she is.
Yeah.
And she talked about everything, like you said. The childhood, the growing up, and
Yeah.
and it's not everyone has that same childhood, growing up. Like you said, your childhood was in front of the behind the cameras.
Yeah.
you know m-
Crazy.
my childhood was my both parents who came to America. One came from Cuba, one came from Peru, and worked their tails off to make a better life for me.
For you. Yeah.
And now here I am, I'm working my tail off for both of my kids and my
Right.
wife to make sure they get whatever they need.
Cycle.
It's a great cycle. And like I always said, like filling my father's shoes, or even my father-in-law, these are big shoes to fill. You just don't realize how you're going to fit into them.
Right.
So
100%. I
and
agree.
and it was kind of funny in an interview. I forgot where she interviewed, but she said she wanted to become a nun.
I think I
Like
saw that too.
she
Yeah.
wanted to be a nun or a librarian. I could not picture her wearing the suit. I don't I was trying to sit there and thinking for 10 minutes. I'm like, doesn't work.
Yeah. She definitely had a, sort of fate and a destiny, I guess. Like that was not her. That was not going to be her story.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's just one of those things. But there's like you said, there's so much to talk about. Entertainment is just a huge
Genre.
genre, and I think we touched on a lot too today. But I got one thing I got to ask you. So there's a lot of movies coming out in 2023, and I
Yeah.
know we both agree that Indiana Jones is one of them.
Yes.
Is there any other movies you're actually looking forward to 2023?
Well, I am looking forward to the Mario Brothers one. I want to see like how they do it. I think Creed 3 is going to be really, really well done. That's Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut.
Yes.
And he's native New Jerseyan, so I think that's going to be a pretty cool movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple this summer, of course, Indiana Jones. I don't know. I mean, there's going to be so many good things, I feel like, in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Like summertime is really where all the hits come out.
Yes.
The Flash, they just had a promo for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
you
That
know,
was a big promo. It's Michael Keaton.
you know what I fear though? I think, and my husband and I were talking about this too, that because of this whole multi-universe thing,
Yes.
that Michael Keaton's going to be in it for like 10 minutes and then they're going to kill off his character or something. Like, it's all this hype for like maybe a scene and then it all goes,
I think there's more to it with Michael Keaton in this one.
yeah. I'm hoping
I'm
because
hoping too,
he was the best
because
Batman.
He is. For me, it's always been Batman. It's been Batman. You know what I meant? Key and Bale.
Yes,
So
100%.
I can't even say Affleck as a superhero because he killed Daredevil for me.
No, and yeah, no, I'm not a fan of him at all. So
No, I get it. Neither am I. Um, I'm not. He has great movies. Don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but as a superhero character,
Yeah,
doesn't work for me. But
doesn't yeah.
there is a couple movies for me. Yes, Creed 3 is one of them. That's like
Yeah,
highlighted because Michael B. Jordan, like you said, it's his directorial debut, and on top of it, it's the first time there's no Sylvester Stallone.
right. Yeah,
So there's a little bit of a flack that he's getting because of that.
right.
Hey, he brought you up for two movies. He's got all these Rockies, but
Right.
I kind
I have
of
a feeling that they probably had some conversations. Like, I'm willing to bet that because Sly, I mean, he owns it, right?
yeah,
He has all the rights, and so I'm sure they had conversations at some point where
yes,
Jordan was probably like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
maybe
That I'm
on
agreeing with you
on
100%.
paper.
Yeah, but I think there's like I said, there's a conversation. Um,
Yeah.
Another big one for me is in the Scream franchise, the newest Scream.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. John Wick 4 is another big one.
Yes.
And another big one for me, and because I grew up watching it, is Fast X.
Oh, I haven't seen all of them. There's so many of them.
There's
I have,
9 of them. There's
but it looks like an amazing cat. I mean, Momoa, his addition to it, and Charlize Theron, and I mean,
yes,
it looked like such an amazing cast that
Jared Daniel Brewster, and the
yeah,
rum, and I don't know how true it is. Again, you see the high. Again, they had the full trailer, which just released. I think was on Friday.
yeah,
So first of all, if the song with Notorious B.I.G. is in this, and the way they did the trailer to it, I
yeah,
can't wait for the soundtrack too. But seeing the stuff, and there were rumblings of Paul Walker's brothers
yeah,
helping again to revise the Paul Walker role. For me, when they did Fast Seven, I cried because Paul Walker, God rest his soul and rest in peace, my friend. He
yeah,
was a true actor. To see him grow up from Pleasantville, there was another movie he did, and then he went right to Fast,
yeah,
and he played that Brian O'Connor so well. And when he passed away during the filming of Seven, was huge because I'm like, how do you end this now? How do you
How do
they had
you
to
do it? Yeah,
I mean, I think the director at that point was Justin Lin on the seventh final. For that was his final one for the Fast franchise, and for him, the way they ended that movie, with everything going for what has happened, I think even I had my wife crying. I
yeah,
cried at the end just because it was so done perfectly.
yeah,
And Vin Diesel is a huge part of that franchise, and seeing again some of those actors, like I said, Jason Statham's coming back. Um,
yeah.
but I'm hearing this is a two part, not a one part. So this
Of
is
course,
it's
they
a
have to
two
make
part.
they have to extend it.
Well, they have to do that. Plus, they have to. I think they're bringing back almost everybody from the franchise. So
You're right. So they
even
have
the
to fit.
people they have to fit it in. So I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I watched maybe like the first three, and
Mhm.
then after a while, it was just kind of like, okay, well, I'll get to it, and I just never got to it.
It's
But
funny because this one is tying in to one of the older Fast movies.
interesting.
So
Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
so if anybody who's watching, like I have, now I fully get it. So I would definitely recommend if you ever get a chance, yes, watch it before you see Fast 10 because this whole thing ties it in.
Interesting. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, they have to go out with a bang, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, make it to 10 movies, you gotta do something big. So it
I
makes
mean,
sense.
I haven't seen that many movies do that except for I think Harry Potter's the only one that's gone past seven. It's done seven.
Yeah. And they're probably going to do more, I'm imagining. There's
Yeah,
a lot they can
but I think
do.
with Daniel Radcliffe though and the kids, I mean, they went from
It's kind of like Stranger Things, like they're
yeah,
all gonna
getting
be in their
older.
20s. Like, how is that gonna work?
Yeah, and I'm gonna miss Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah, we watched the first season. We didn't watch the newer seasons, but it was really fun. I thought that was really fun.
I highly
Ralph
recommend it.
Macchio.
Highly recommend it. That's another actor I would love to talk to, Ralph Macchio.
He's great. I actually have met him.
Oh, nice.
He's everything you would think. He's just a dude from Long Island that's really chill and really kind. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like that.
Yeah,
There are a few that shall go nameless, that are not so nice.
I believe it.
Um, but he's exactly how you would imagine.
He
Just
he
super,
would definitely be him in the Zap Code because I growing up on Karate Kid,
yeah,
he's the one who got me into karate to begin with. Boy from
yeah,
Jersey.
so fun.
But at the end today, I gotta say, Kristina, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Oh,
We
it's been fun.
we have definitely you're always welcome back to the show to talk more.
I appreciate that.
We could talk for hours, you and I think we could at least have a 4-hour show here because of all the entertainment, all the movies, everything that we have going on. But you know, you're always welcome back here anytime you
Oh,
want.
thank
You
you.
say, I'm coming on, you got it. You're always there. So
I
that's not a
appreciate it.
problem. And I appreciate you taking the time out today. I know with your busy schedule and got to get the kids going too a little bit now. And I
You
know
probably heard them running home and running around.
if you hear anything in the background, it's the same thing with my kids right now. It's close to dinner
Hashtag,
time.
yeah, yep.
But
Mom
before,
life,
yeah, if mom and dad life here.
mom
But
and dad life.
before we leave, let everyone know where they can find you and follow you.
Oh, that's awesome. On social media at Kristina Behr on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can watch our weekly morning shows on nj.com, and the Bear Buzz I post weekly also on my socials. So yeah, just if you got a question or anything, just reach out. I'm here.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time. And to the sleevers, as you can see, things can happen here. So
Aw.
we're going to be releasing soon, but check out next week's episodes too. I got some things going on and we're gonna got some surprises coming up in the next few weeks. So check
Ooh.
it out. Keep following me on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere you can find me. And like I always end the show, love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.